I'm John Wolfe. I'm 56 years old. I'm an attorney in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I'm running for the 3rd District Congressional Office. And I want to serve in this district because I think it's important to protect the good things the federal government has done and work to preserve or try to change the things that we need to change. Right now, I have opposition from Chuck Fleischman. He's in the Republican Party. We have a couple of people who are sponsored by the Tea Party who are independent candidates, Mark Duvall, and we also have another fellow out there running named Savas Kariakaitis, and he's also in the running. My basic platform is to preserve what's best about government. That is Social Security, Medicare, TVA, Oak Ridge jobs, student loans, unemployment benefits, and a lot of things that we take for granted that really are in the fabric of our economic and social life that I think are being threatened right now by Mr. Fleischman and some of the people on the radical right. And he may not be quite there, but some of his statements he's made at the Woodland Park Baptist Church last January that are on the internet lead me to believe that he might propose radical changes that could threaten a lot of the things that have worked, the government does, that we've begun to take for granted. And I'm an independent person. I'm running as a Democrat, but I want to get input and I want to get support from all factions and sides of issues, or support from because I want to make government work. I think that the idea that we can do away with government or downsize it, like a lot of Republicans say, to a size where it can be strangled in the bathtub and drowned. And those are the words I think of Grover Norquist, and he's sort of the ideological godfather of the Fleischman campaign. I think that's wrong. You know, we had the most technologically sophisticated, most militarily sophisticated, and most economically sophisticated society on the face of the earth. And to think that we can just downsize government roles tremendously is just a myth, and it can't be done. You know, the society just doesn't work like that anymore. We need to grow up and realize that we have to deal with government as it is and make it work, and not try to undo the good it's done or make it ineffective, especially in the wake of Wall Street scandals, which are basically caused by profiteering and people who were unregulated during the Bush administration. The securitization of mortgages, bad mortgages were allowed to be sold around the world. You can look at what happened in the Appalachians with the Massey coal mine when people died there because there was no regulation. Mr. Massey was politically influential and people were afraid of him. Same with BP. Had more violations than Enron, Chevron, and Conoco combined, but people were afraid to shut it down or closely regulate it. Democrats guilty too. A lot of Louisiana Democrats have taken a lot of money from BP, and President Obama himself took $87,000 in contributions from BP executives during his presidential campaign. So we need to work for the people. We need to get laws passed that minimize the corporate influence on policy decision making in Washington, and try to do what's right for the people. Eventually, when you do that, corporations benefit. We had a lot of prosperity in the 50s and 60s, and corporations then contributed about 1 out of every $5 that the federal treasury collected. Now corporations are 15 times as big, but they only pay 9% of the federal fare. So, you know, we need to rein them in. We need to regulate them more closely, especially the big corporations, at the same time encouraging small business growth. And I think we can do that. One thing I proposed is a Wall Street tax of 1/2% on transactions in the derivatives market. That I think would help balance the budget. It's those derivatives that got us in trouble to begin with 2 or 3 years ago when the economy almost cratered because of the wild speculation that was going on, especially through AIG and some of the securitization of the mortgage industry. And as a result, a lot of mortgages that were bad were sold around the world. They were sold as AAA credit-worthy mortgages, but they really weren't. In fact, some of the mortgages they knew were bad, and they let the people who knew they were bad, Goldman Sachs did, put them together, and then they let them buy puts on it, which means they could bet against the price going up, but make money when the price went down. All that happened was Goldman Sachs was fined $500 million, and they had no criminal penalties against them, and they make $500 million in profits in 2 weeks. And that's not to say we don't need big companies. I'm not against business. You know, I've worked all across the board in business since I've been a teenager. You know, I worked as a sack boy. I've worked in a factory. I've worked cutting grass. I almost lost my thumb one time working on a farm when I was 15 years old. And so I know all about work, and worked my way through college without any student loans. Paid my way through law school basically, and and started my own practice and did well in that, and then managed other people's money. Know about the stock market, know about the judiciary. I'm pretty well qualified in a number of things, just through experience and exposure through my work. And so I'm ready to represent, and I want to be fair to everybody. I want to be accessible to people. You can count on John Wolfe never running from a debate. As Mr. Fleischman has, you won't have to chase me through a parking lot like the AP reporter did in Cleveland, Tennessee, to get his comment on why he won't debate, and then be interrupted by a 21-year-old aide who won't let the AP reporter, Gary Poovey, question the candidate. I mean, that won't happen. I mean, Mr. Fleischman is acting like he's an incumbent, that he's entitled to that seat just because this is a district that leans Republican. Now, I don't think he is. His platform is hazy. He's not come out for anything specific. I mean, he made a lot of promises to the Tea Party in January of '09. In fact, he said, or January of '10, when he said Woodland Park Baptist Church, and this is on the internet in his own words, when he said, "I'm Chuck Fleischman and I approve your message." And now what he wants to do is avoid anything, because he doesn't want to be linked to them and then lose votes in the center, or he doesn't want to move to the center and contradict his previous positions and then start losing the votes of those that are very activist Republicans on the right, the ones who are associated with the Tea Party. So, that sort of political gamesmanship, I'll never play. I won the nomination. I got 40% of my primary vote. Chuck Fleischman got 29.5%. That's hardly a mandate, and he owes it to people if he's going to represent the folks from East Ridge all the way up to Clearfield, from Dayton, Tennessee over to Ducktown on the east. He's got to tell them, this is where I stand on Social Security. This is where I stand on Medicare. This is what I believe about abortion, for instance. These are the specific things I want to do to promote small growth or small business growth. He can't just say the government's the enemy, that we have to tax people even less than we do now. But at the same time, he wants to balance the budget. I mean, he doesn't have any coherent philosophy at all. It's just a quilt patch of just different threads, just sewn in an ad hoc fashion. There's no consistency, and there's just no internal philosophy there that unites his thinking.